We will have a short presentation about what's going on in Washington, and then Congressman Brady will take your questions. We've got a couple of microphones over here. Please keep your questions very brief. We want to get through as many of your questions as possible, so please ask one question very quickly and then have a seat. We'll get started.
Kevin is serving his 7th term in the U.S. House of Representatives. He's a member of the House Ways and Means Committee, which is a very powerful committee in Congress with jurisdiction over 2/3 of the federal budget, including welfare, social security, trade, and taxes. Congressman Brady is also a whip for the Republican Conference. He is also the lead House Republican on the Joint Economic Committee. In Congress, he has been named Hero of the Taxpayers, Small Business Champion, and Super Friend of the Seniors. He has received the Golden Bulldog Award by Watchdogs of the Treasury, special recognition by Citizens Against Government Waste, and is a perennial winner of the Guardian of Small Business Taxpayer Hero and Spirit of Enterprise Awards. In order to stay close to the people he represents, Kevin chose to commute to work in Washington each week, so he, his wife, Cassie, can raise their 2 sons, Will, 11, and Sean, 8, in the wilderness. This morning, he's going to offer us the very latest developments of the healthcare legislations before the House and talk about the reconciliation process we've heard a lot about. He's also going to talk about how the Democrats hope to pass this bill within the coming week. Please welcome a good friend, Congressman Kevin Brady.
Thank you. I apologize for having to go back to you guys, but I'll talk real quick here and then sit down. Thank you for being here today. But more importantly, thank you for all that you've done this past year. I can tell you, up in the House, we are 80 votes short when we start any issue. The only reason we're in the fight against this national health care plan is because of you. You've leveled the playing field since last August. If you remember, they had the timeline. If you recall, the president, the first thing he said as president was, we're going to pass this national health care plan. You know, they started in the spring. They said we're going to have the deadline done by July because we don't want members of Congress going back to their districts and all this. Well, they heard from you in a huge way all across this country. Then they said we need to pass it by Thanksgiving because we don't want members of Congress going back to Thanksgiving break to hear from you. But you blocked it then. And throughout Christmas was the deadline, and then it was early February, and now they want to push it through by Easter. This next week is critical because over the objection of the American public, Speaker Pelosi is determined to push through the back door, this national takeover of our healthcare system. Whoa. And the only thing standing between them and their goal, in my mind, is you. Is you. We're going to fight this. Let me just say, there are so many versions of this bill, and I checked on the drive over if we've gotten the latest version from them. But I can tell you, at every step, it has gotten worse. You remember the House bill, more than 100 mandates, all the bureaucracy between you and your doctor, the health cares are billions of dollars of new tax increases, billions of dollars of cuts to Medicare, government agencies in between you and your doctor, debt that we can't possibly hope to pay for in our lifetime. It got worse in the Senate. There's the chart for the Senate bill right there, which we literally could not fit all the new mandates and programs onto that. Now they've moved on to yet another bill that I can't tell you about because no one's seen it. No one in America has seen it yet. On Monday, the Budget Committee, they're bringing the Budget Committee back, and they're going to start voting on the reconciliation, the back door of how to get this through its public. On Monday, the Budget Committee is going to take this up. Supposedly, with 24 hours notice, the public will be able to see it. Sarah, when we get that link, can we e-newsletter, email that out to everyone and get it to Julie and Suzanne as well, so that the second we get it, you get it as well. Monday, the Budget Committee is going to meet. We believe they will pass that out that day. It takes 48 hours of layover. It will go to the Rules Committee and get changed there for the final push. And then I think they're going to shoot for a vote Thursday or Friday on this bill. As you know, the President's backed off his international trip in order to pressure more House Democrats on this bill. So we really are at a critical juncture in health care again. We have been before, we are again. We know what the fight is, we're going to take the fight to them on this bill. Couple thoughts. Reconciliation really is circumventing the public will. It has been used before, but as on things that actually were supported by the American public, the Balanced Budget Act of 1997, Deficit Reduction Act, President Bush's tax cuts, bills that had overwhelming public support. It's never been used to circumvent the public will. Today, as we sit here, more than half of Americans strongly oppose this health care bill. 78% believe it will raise their taxes, and they're right on that. An equal number believe Congress ought to go back to the drawing board and sit and focus first on lowering the cost of health care. Not in these bills, there's one philosophy. Raise the price of health care on those who have it to pay for those who don't. That is the philosophy of all this. And put government squarely in the driver's seat for those health care decisions in the future. It is a simple architecture, it is powerful, and it will change our country, in my view, forever. Forever. That's why there's so much at stake in this. And again, it has not gotten better at any step in this process. It's gotten worse. And what's interesting is this week, the President gave his 52nd town hall meeting on health care. 2 State of the Union speeches. They pulled out the plugs. We get calls from, what's the group?
Organizing for America?
We get Planned Parenthood, Organizing for America, MoveOn.com. They've got all their engines running, and the more the public knows about the bill, Amy, the less they like it. This is not a case, the President actually believes, and I think Democrats in Congress, that they know what's best for us. That if they can just talk to us more, you'll finally come around, Mike. Well, no bet on it. Yeah, we'll talk to Mary Wise, she knows. But the point is that they are not listening. They have an agenda that I think is an extreme one. I know it is an extreme one. And health care is really the most critical part of it. So in this next week, here's what we are up against. They need 216 votes to pass this bill in the House. They got 220 for the last go-round, but 4 members have now retired, or in the case of Eric Massa, have disintegrated. If you have a clue what's happening in that guy's mind, please let me know. You're the first. Right? I'm not even going to make a joke that came in my mind. Okay. But they're down to number 10. They're down to 216. They've decided to blow past the pro-life Democrats. They've just said, we're not going to fix it for you. You just need to vote for it. That group started out as almost 60 pro-life Democrats. More recently, it got down to 12 pro-life Democrats. But they're starting to pick them off. Right now, we know Mark Stupak's count. He still believes they're close to 12. Right now, we have 4 that have said absolutely no. They're standing their ground. And let me remind you what the pro-life group said about the Senate bill that they're going to vote on first, and they're not changing. They said anyone who votes for that has permanently forfeited their pro-life credentials. Permanently forfeited pro-life credentials. So for these people to change at this point, I think is unconscionable. The pressure is dramatic upon them. That's one of the key groups we're working hard to shore up back in their districts. Those of us who are tied in and supportive of pro-life efforts throughout the country, those are our targets group to keep the no votes the no. Then to blow through them, they're going to have to turn around some of those 37 other no votes that are still out there. Suzanne, we've been visiting Suzanne and Julie and others about the list. Have you got it here? Of the right there. That's the group that they're pushing and working hard. That's the only way they can get to 216 votes is to switch their votes. And I can tell you, at every step in the way, I don't know how any member of Congress who voted no on the House bill there can possibly vote on the Senate bill plus worse. I don't know how you go back home and tell people I've made this better for you, or that I have upheld my principles in it. It's impossible to do it. It's impossible to do. But that's what the big push is for this next week. That's why we need everyone in this room engaged on that list, thinking about the friends and family and co-workers in those states and districts in order to remind them the reason they voted no is even more important today than it was when it first went through the House. And that we talked a minute ago on the way in. One of the big pushes up there is that we need to get this behind us. This will never be behind us. Never. Because it is a bill that mandates taxes, slashes. It puts government into a position, forces people out of health care they like today, raises the price of health care on those who have it, taxes small businesses if they don't offer government-approved health care, taxes individuals if you don't buy government-approved health care. And at the end of the day, whether it's through the exchanges or the public option, one just gets there faster than the other. The government will be making, and these bureaucrats will be making the key decisions that affect our health care in our lifetime. And it'll affect our seniors through the Medicare cuts, it'll affect our young people today, it'll affect people who have private plans are going to be forced out. Companies that offer good plans, if they're not government approved, they'll be forced out of there. We're taxed up to $3,000 per month. And at the end of the day, they don't do anything to lower the cost of health. I mean, that's what we want. That is what unifies America on health care reform. We got to lower the cost of health. And if you don't do it, there's going to be more people uninsured. There's going to be more people without health care. So our focus always has been, let's lower the cost of health care. Let's have tort reform. Let's knock defensive medicine out of this health care process. Give us more choices as small businesses. Give us more choices as individuals. Open up the curtain of mystery on pricing so that we can prepare and shop. Be part of determining our healthcare future. All of those make sense, and it's not just us offering it. It's the leaders of the Texas Medical Center who believe we have so much right about our healthcare system. Don't throw it out. Start improving it step by step by step. That's what the American people want. That's what this Congress is absolutely doing. So, Suzanne, Julie, with that, why don't I stop, because I can talk a lot more about specific parts of this bill, but until we see the reconciliation language later today, we won't know. And I should mention this too. It's bad enough we go in through the back door, but in the House, they're actually looking at avoiding a vote on the Senate bill. What they call deeming it passed. That's like proclaiming it to pass. Literally proclaiming it is passed. They can do it one of two ways. They can have the rule. We have a rules committee in the House. It decides what amendments can be offered, how much time we debate something. Just the rules of the game for that. And the rules committee can just put in there a rule that says if our resolution passes to set the rules for the debate, that automatically passes the Senate. Proclaims it passed. That's what they're doing. That's how far they're going to avoid a direct vote on that stinker of a bill. So we've got some big challenges up there. Let's stop. Let's take a few questions. Is that okay?
Thank you very much, Congressman. I think we're starting to get the picture, but please those who have questions. We have 2 microphones there. If you can come up to one. I think we have one first question.
Good morning, Congressman Brady. Gary Reynolds of Precinct 15. Thank you so much for being here. I've seen you over the years since 2006. I appreciate your humility in addressing various meetings and conventions and things. I want to say thank you, and I want to say I am one person that's not ashamed to cast a vote for you and ask for people to vote for you. We need tenured Congress people up in Congress that will take this fight to the committees and be able to have the team and be able to lead the committees rather than get railroaded over Democrats that sit there as politicians and as career people who drive me crazy. Anyway. Thank you. Back about September, up in Virginia District 8, Howard Dean addressed the Virginia District 8 town hall meeting. And he stated flat out, you're not going to get tort reform because there's too many enemies up in Washington, D.C. What he didn't mention is our Health and Human Services Secretary, Kathleen Sebelius, was the chairman of the Kansas Trial Lawyers Association for 10 years. And of course, that's the biggest lobbyist group there is to keep tort reform from coming by because they make such a huge fortune from taking control of this. What can we do about tort reform?
We need to take the gavel away from Speaker Pelosi. I'll give you a different answer about how much influence they have and how they blocked every effort. The bottom line is that's what we have to do because the influence of trial lawyers is so strong. The number one contributor of daily meetings are the number 1 and 2 contributors of campaign contributions, not just to the House, but to the White House as well. So they're not going to allow tort reform to go forward. And yet it is so key to getting costs under control, so key to knocking defensive medicine out. Every doctor will tell you all the extra tests they do, just because they need to cover their malpractice taxes. And we've seen here in Texas, in California, California did malpractice reform and did it right. And in both states, what we've seen, it's not an issue of just lowering malpractice premiums. That's not the point. The point is to drive out that defensive medicine and give us more access to doctors, period. That's what happens. We went from doctors flooding out of Texas to a backlog of a year. Physicians waiting to come to practice in our state. And they don't just practice in big cities. They practice in the suburbs, in rural East Texas, in my district, and down in the valley. And it is key. The president, I think, is disingenuous when he says, well, I support tort reform. Let's do some pilot programs. We don't need any pilot programs. I've got Texas and California. We know it works already. They just don't want to take on their biggest contributors in an issue that will save about $100 billion each and every year in healthcare. $100 billion savings. We don't have to pay our premiums. It's outrageous. It's not in there. But we won't get it until we change who leads
Congressman, last week on the Red State Briefing site, they reported that if the House passes the Senate bill, okay, and especially in light this week of the Senate parliamentarians' ruling, that President Obama is simply going to sign the bill into law, and all the talk of reconciliation, this new bill, the promises to all the Democrats, and all the smoke screen that they're doing is nothing more than a smoke screen, that there will be no reconciliation vote. President Obama will sign the House bill into law and say, great job, health care, the rest of you guys fight it out, and all the promises he's made to Democrats to get their votes and arm twisting is all a bunch of lies, okay? And that maybe it'll pass someday, some year, and everything else. My concern is that there's been virtually all the concentration has been on reconciliation and all this other stuff. By doing this, by signing the bill, making it law, the president avoids having said, well, we didn't get these reconciliation process. We just passed the bill. Health care is in place. Right, wrong, or otherwise, the Democrats don't like what's in it or everything else. but then it becomes law. And there is no, and I haven't heard anybody say this, and I think if they publicize this more, and I've sent you an article, and I'll give you a copy afterwards, but and all the promises they're making to the Democrats, knowing, based on this article, and it cites also in the article how last fall Harry Reid, the Senate, went over and crafted new language in the bill and put an amendment in there to make this bill that they're trying to make you vote on, okay, appear to have originated in the House, because all tax bills must originate in the House, and so that he can sign into law. We got health care, no more reconciliation vote, no more separate bill that everybody's waiting on the CBO and everything on. And I think everybody's missed the point here. Like your comment.
Let the Congressman say.
That does. That's actually the argument that we are using in the House, because there are a lot of Democrats who are very suspicious that the Senate Democrats will follow through on reconciliation. And that's also the reason you saw all 41 Senate Republicans sign a letter that says we will not vote to allow any amendment in reconciliation that isn't a tax or a budget matter, again, which blocks their changes and chances of reconciliation. And we're doing that, the Senate Republicans are doing that to make the point that if House Democrats think this is a slam dunk, that they can vote for that or have deemed that Senate bill, and that they'll get reconciliation passed. That is no sure deal at all. And I'll tell you too, the other parliamentary maneuver they're using, as if reconciliation wasn't outrageous enough, as if deeming the bill passed isn't outrageous enough. Under reconciliation, under that law, one, it has to be changes to current laws the President has to sign. And those changes have to be budget or tax related. They are going to attempt to stretch that door and open in a major way. And under reconciliation, while there is a limit of 20 hours of debate in the Senate, amendments are unlimited. It says so right there. What they're going to try to do, Senate Republicans have said, we're going to tackle every section of this bill. You know, we're going to see. As I did late yesterday, some Democrats are looking for a parliamentary way to shut that down. Even though that is exactly what the law says, that's the rights of Senate Republicans who represent much of America to offer those amendments, they're looking at shutting that down as well. So at every point, again, instead of actually listening to people, going back to the drawing board and saying, how do we do this right? They're intent on every parliamentary maneuver in the book. As the President said, we will do whatever it takes to pass this. And the Speaker Pelosi said, we need to pass this bill so we can see what's in it.
Folks, just so we can get through as many questions as possible, would you please limit your questions to just 30 seconds?
Congressman Brady, I'm Henry Sloan. I'd like to thank you also for being here. I don't know whether you're aware, but there is a lady that has done a wonderful piece of investigative reporting that appeared on biggovernment.com. Her name is Susan Ann Hill. And there is verbiage that is written into, and it's not highlighted, in all three of the health care bills, the House, the Senate, and Obama's. So that whichever one survives, this verbiage will be there. And it refers to two other small bills that were written by the progressive Democrat Jay Rockefeller called MedPAC. I think officially there's SB 1110 and HR 2718. And it transfers power, legislative power, to the executive branch. In particular, it's for all payments of everything that happens under, now it would be the health care bill in addition to the Medicare. And it goes to the Social Security Act. I've got a copy of it for you. And it is onerous. This is why they are so adamant about getting this back.
Henry, let me see those if you don't mind. I'll shake that out. Thanks.
Congressman, brief questions. One, we don't have to call our representative. We know he's going to do the right thing. But as we're calling these other representatives not in our area, what is the most effective approach for us to use as we're calling representatives not in our area? And quickly, number two, who are on this list of the at least plain pro-life people in Congress, so we'll know that when we're approaching them.
Well, on the first thing, on the first question, I know it makes us feel better to call them. It doesn't change their mind. We've got to get someone in their district or state to call them or email them. That has got to be our number 1, 2, 3, and 4 goals, is to do that. That's how we change this around. Call the pro-life Democrats, Dan Lipinski, who is staying tight, of Chicago, is staying tight to his principles. Jerry Costello has not yet said. Bart Stupak, God bless him. Dale Kilby has already folded. Sandy Levin, I believe, will be at the end of the day. He's, as you know, the new chairman of the Ways and Means Committee. He's not saying no. John Dingell, I'm sure is a yes. Jim Overstar, chairman of the Transportation Committee, does not want to lose that gavel. I'm thinking is not going to hang tight. Ike Skelton, who is actually retiring, isn't he? I think we need to focus on Missouri 4. Scott Murphy, New York 20, keep the pressure on him. Derek Mass. Yeah, this is dated by a couple days. But Steve Driehaus, I don't know very well, from Ohio. John Boccieri, definitely keep the pressure on John. He is in a tough fight. He's been a conservative Democrat voter over there in the past, has a lot at stake. Alan Callahan, don't know. Nick Rahal, I don't know what this. Those who are pro-life Democrats, I think some of those we need to focus on. Some that already started. Yeah, Julie.
When you came in, you should have received a couple of sheets of paper on your seat. It's got the telephone numbers to contact, in particular the Blue Dog and the pro-life Democrats on the backside of the sheet. We gave you 2 of them, so you can keep one and then give one to someone else. The other thing is this sheet of paper here. These are the people we need to hold. The people who voted no last time, and the people who voted yes, they need to turn it to votes this time. Those are the ones to focus on. And again, we're encouraging you guys to think about who you know in these districts and get them to call or visit.
Good morning. I'd like to preface my question by first saying I don't think there's anything about Barack Obama that's impressive. To me, there's real elements impressive. Number 2, I think it's probably politically correct to say he's a great speaker, but personally, hearing his voice annoys me. I really think it's not good. Now to my question. Back during the State of the Union speech, Barack Obama criticized the Supreme Court. This week, John Roberts has come under attack for some comments that he made. Barack Obama did lie. And even though the mainstream media tries to cover things up and protect the man, how possible would it be to at least put forward some kind of resolution condemning his remarks at the State of the Union speech in terms of what he said about the Supreme Court, even though it may not have passed, at least there was some kind of political thing put forward to the public to condemn his remarks, because it was very involved.
Well, it wasn't called for. They were wrong. They were inaccurate. And written by some political operative and had no place. In fact, much of that State of the Union had no place at the State of the Union. I don't know, frankly, what good it does to go backward in that direction. Going forward on it, they've already introduced legislation to do what the president wants to do, which is to block the free speech of businesses in America in these elections. One of our many fights beyond health care And on the freedom side is one of those fights we have to block. Our goal going forward should be to block any effort to do what the President talked about that night. Mind you. Does that make sense? I mean, I don't think he said that the best revenge is to not allow that to move forward in any way. And just so, I know you guys know this, here's the free speech issue. The speech issue was all businesses in America have a right to weigh in to an election in the last 60 days, just like businesses who own the New York Times, the ABC News, local newspaper, and others. That was the free speech issue. The Supreme Court said yes, they do. Everyone's equal in that. They can't coordinate the campaigns. They can't give money to campaigns. But as a company, they have the absolute right to say this legislation is bad, this resolution is bad, or it's good. They have free speech rights too. That's what we're protecting. Thanks. Thanks for raising it.
Hi, I have two very quick questions. The first one I'd like to know is if the Republicans can take back the House and the Senate in 2012, is there any possible way, if this bill goes through, that it can be repealed? And my second question is, if this bill goes through, is there anything that the representatives of the state of Texas can do to protect our state so that we can keep ourselves from being excluded from this bill?
Thanks, Jerry. The number one job of Republicans, if the voters give them the honor and the trust to hold those gavels again, the first goal will be to repeal everything bad that has occurred this year. It will not be easy because you will have to go against a veto-proof majority. So a veto-proof majority, they have to have an House and Senate. Most likely we will not. So in that first 2 years, I would say the fight has to be waged. It's going to be tough to get the wins. You're going to have to change the White House too. That's on the first thing. Second question was on the states. Look, I love the fact we got a whole number of states offering constitutional amendments against the mandates in the health care bill. I think it's very helpful to have our Attorney General, Greg Abbott, and others challenging right off the get-go the constitutionality of these bills. I think it's important for states to focus on the 10th Amendment in every way possible. Whether all those actions translate into wins in the legal system, I don't know. The Supremacy Clause is a powerful clause at the Supreme Court level, and I've had the privilege of talking to Justice Scalia about nullification and issues like that. The response wasn't necessarily encouraging, but I think the importance of all this is for every state, every member of Congress in Washington to understand how strongly states will fight this every step of the way. So I think we need to keep that volume, turn that volume up, keep it loud. And you know, we've had a lot of good issues that we've promoted over the years that have got struck down at the Supreme Court level. You can never predict exactly how they're going to rule, so let's keep the fight going on all those issues. Without certainty that they're going to actually work, at this point, let our voice be heard. That's sort of, do you agree, Terry, with that?
No. Thank you, Terry, for bringing up this question, and I agree with what Kevin was telling you, and that's why your voice needs to be heard day after day on every single issue. It's going to be a long fight, battle after battle, whichever one we win. Never think now I can sit down and relax, because the reason the power has gotten so big in Washington is because we've relaxed too long and sit back. So on their side, they never did. They have been fighting all along those years, and they have been coming back at us on every single issue without ever relenting. For the first time, our side has done the same thing for the whole last year. Day after day, you have stood up and with the Tea Party and the different other groups that have tried to let the fight back. But it's it's not time, and it's not going to be time for a very long time to stop. So the first step is, as Kevin was saying, get Nancy Pelosi out of her chair. So that one we need to do in November. But after that, it's not going to be yet a better one. So we will have to keep it up, not only until 2012, but even way beyond that. So please continue to speak up every single day. Help us do that. Whenever the head passes along by your side, give generously, because it's going to be a long, long-term battle.
Dave Olsen, the Woodlands. Thanks for being here, Congressman Brady. I've always thought of things in my job place, longer term than some folks. And I look at where we're at here, and I see a lot of energy going into rightfully so the healthcare issues. But I also see that for my eye-opening part, the USNetClock.org is dead. And I also see 100 years of our government in Washington, where it's indicating me it is quite broken. And I know from problem-solving experiences that one must take the approach. If you want to solve problems, the first thing you do is identify clearly where you are. It's usually that you are. And then you go ahead and identify where you want to be. The debt, and where you want to be for your government in Washington. To me, we need leadership that does that. Then we can take steps forward. What do you think?
I agree. And is anyone, of all the issues we're fighting, all the challenges face the country today, is our debt not the number one issue that frightens us most? It is. I mean, it supersedes all. It's a symptom. These are all symptoms of a bigger problem, of a government that wants to fit every need, fill every need, take every dollar, makes all the decisions for you, basically knows what's best for you. And as a result, we now are not just $14 trillion in debt, but as the Congressional Budget Office showed last week, we will average $1 trillion debts every year for another decade. For another decade. And it doesn't go down. I mean, we are in a place now where it's almost, I fear Suzanne talked a little about us, we have to stay in this for the long run. My worry is it's so big, it seems like we can't fight it. We can't. Last year, House conservatives were the only ones to offer a balanced budget. Of all the budgets that were voted on, off the balanced one, we cut, we slashed, we pushed down on everything, and we could balance it for 10 years. I mean, and we knocked it ahead. And the only point we made in picking that period was to say, and every year we keep adding to the debt, it gets harder. We don't have any choice anymore. We need a constitutional amendment on a balanced budget. That's enough. We need a constitutional amendment to cap federal spending. We have to have that limit because all you do is say it's time to raise taxes on a balanced budget rate. No, it's suspending. It is suspending. That's a hard core wall. Final thing. I don't know if you agree. I know it's only 2% of the federal budget, but earmarks are a symptom of what's wrong. I can tell you, after 40 years of working on this effort, Thursday, House Republicans met in private, and we voted immediately to stop all earmarks being offered by House Republicans. We don't care if Democrats go along with this, we don't care if anyone goes along with this on it, but it is, we need to break from the past. And for us, especially as Republicans, it's an acknowledgement of the past spending mistakes and a declaration that we're going to govern right in the future. That's what this is all about. It's not popular, it's not necessarily popular within some of our own members who like to do it. But we said, for the rest of the Congress, it's off the table until the abuses are gotten away from it. What I told our leader, I spoke in support of it. We've introduced legislation. Some people aren't pleased with what I told our leader, who, to his credit, John Boehner, said we are going to do this more. I mean, he was leading. I said, here's the way you restore faith in that. You put the meanest people you can think of, cost cutters in the room, Americans for Tax Reform, Tea Party leaders, citizens against government waste, Green Works, put them in the room and say, you tell us how local projects should be. But my thought is, we got to break the entitlement mentality of earmarks. It's not just for members. There's an entitlement back home that we're owed earmarks. We're owed them. Well, we got to reboot the computer. We got to break entitlement, just like we did with welfare. Break the entitlement mentality. That is not how it should work in America. This is a small start. It's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I think Senator Hutchinson got that message a couple of weeks ago.
First, I have a comment. I see that I turned around. There's a young man over here. I want to thank the young people that do come out. Two quick questions. Number one, what is the best way to reach the congressman? I have been there, walked the hall. Sometimes you feel like nobody listens. I will fax, I call, but I'll give them a bogus zip code from the district, and sometimes I'll give them their address or their other office in the other place. And the second thing is, I don't understand how, I guess I do understand, the Democratic congressmen are so wishy-washy day in and day out. The very substance of this city to me is socialism and running our country the way it is. How can we just be bought off so easy by a Louisiana Purchase or something? How can you change your mind on something like that and not see the whole picture? Did that come across right?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I'm going to be honest. This is an issue. This just isn't any issue. I mean, we're not talking about a bridge across the street. We're talking about forever changing the way our government runs and our choices as individuals and the money we send. It is transformational. I think that's why the President and House Democrats are pushing for this. It does transform America. And I don't know how you can move against the public that you represent or give away your principles on this vote because there's pressure. What I do know is that these 37 votes no last go-round didn't happen by accident. It was because of you. I can guarantee you, we're so short on votes in the House, 80 votes really. There's no way that we could have leveled the playing field. Those August town hall meetings, that march on Washington that Suzanne talked about, you guys rode 30 hours on that bus, that house call where everyone dropped what they're doing and came to Washington. Yeah, urgent care. When you were going through the Capitol halls, maybe you didn't get to see the speaker or that member of Congress. I guarantee you they were paying attention. I guarantee you. Yeah, you were. They out for a walk around Speaker Pelosi's office. I guarantee you she knew about it. So don't be discouraged if you don't see that immediate result. You actually already have results from what you've been doing. We just got to hold on to these people. And something, Suzanne's right. If somehow they get the votes for this, or whether we block it, we got to sing this game. What do they say about, how do you have a successful rain dance? You don't stop dancing until it rains. The way we have to bring it back, our country back the right direction, we don't stop until it's brought back the right direction. I mean, that's what we're in for. So don't get discouraged. I still think you talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, who's in that district, who's in that state, who can we reach to, think, who do I go to school with, college with, old buddy, whatever, use that, because they can get them ginned up and speaking out. That can make this difference.
We have time for 2 more questions when we reach microphone.
My question is whether this healthcare bill passes by some miracle. Do you think that will pass through the judicial branch?
That's a great question. And I think, one, there will be challenges to the constitutionality of laws. succeed or not, it is hard to determine. But one, the challenges will be made. Two, we need to pursue them. And three, it brings back home why every time when you vote for a president, you know that they're going to appoint those Supreme Court justices. And why in every one of our thought process, especially for young people, the Supreme Court plays such a critical role once laws are passed. And they can expand or decrease your freedoms. Why, when you're voting for president, you have to think about who that president's going to put on that bench, because it has a huge impact on this bill and a whole lot of others. Does that answer your question, Todd? Okay. I'm with the others. Thanks for being here, guys. We love having you.
Thank you for being here. To Congressman who is staying
My gosh, you did.
I'll keep it short. We have a small business we've owned for 40 years. Husband's 66 years old, still works 80, 90 hours a week. That's why you never see him at these things. Anyway, what I would like to know is if this monstrosity passes, how much is it going to cost my small business? I have about 10 overqualified, underpaid employees. We're more like a family than a business. But I would like to take care of the people that we have, worked to try to support and who have worked to support us and our customers. How much is it going to cost me?
Suzanne, or Mary, and we've worked together for a long time with Chamber of Commerce throughout the years.
Yes. When Kevin got elected, I said, well, now that you're so important, what are we supposed to call you? And he said, Kevin.
Very much. The answer is we won't know till the final bill what it will cost you in money. I know what it will cost you in prosperity and in freedom and in the ability to make your own choices about your own health care. To create plans or to shop for plans. A small business like yours is in the toughest position. You're not big enough to get the discounts. You don't have huge cash flow, so every dollar counts. If you're lucky, you can find a way to provide health care to your workers if you're lucky, but you can never afford it for the families because you can't do that. And you probably switch plans every couple of years to get an introductory rate that's a little lower that you can try to keep it if you can find it at all.
We haven't even been able to provide it for quite a few years. Most of our employees have it from other sources. And we have some teenage, help, summer help, and according to this, it looks like we have to pay for them.
At the end of the day, a small business needs more choices and lower health care costs. This plan gives you fewer choices and higher health care. Now, they may subsidize you, Mary. I'll be honest. Their goal is not to lower health care costs. It's simply to find a way to help you pay for it. Well, that's a losing principle
But
right
they
there.
subsidize it with my money.
You weren't supposed to figure that out.
And I think my customers that have money, they're not going to buy swimming pools if they are subsidizing money.
And Mary, I don't know about you, but I'm still convinced the reason we're not recovering from this recession. In America, by the way, we love to bounce back. We hate to be in a recession. We're just genetically programmed to be positive. You know what I mean? We bounce back quicker in severe recessions more than any other country anywhere in this world. The reason we're not is because of Washington. I mean, when people look at cap and trade, healthcare mandates like you do, energy costs, all the new taxes, which your taxes are going up under this bill. I don't care what they tell you. Your health, your taxes, because they can never afford to pay it. Never. When they say, and we'll see this next week, over and over they'll say, this is going to reduce the deficit. It's going to save you money. It is almost $2.5 trillion just the first 10 years. It's really in operation. Not the first 10 years. The first 10 years really on. Everyone knows what's leading. That's why companies aren't hiring their workers. That's why people aren't shopping, because they're not worried about just their bank account, it's the government.
We had a truck die yesterday. We're not going to replace it.
Because
in years past, we would have taken out a loan and started along and got us another truck. Forget it. We're just not going to replace it. We're certainly not going to hire anybody.
Thanks. Guys, Suzanne's going to finish.
Let's have the last one.
I'm Linda Flower. I represent the Texas Physicians Resource Council, and it's a pro-life doctor group here in Texas, and you're probably familiar with this for years. I guess real quick, just one quick question is, how has the legislature accounted for the fact that since they're repealing the conscience law in this legislation, that probably over half of the physicians, not just physicians, but nurses, will have to leave medicine because they will not be able to practice under that type of legislation. How are they going to provide access to care in that, with that type of thing?
They're not. Your message has been lost through most of this debate. When pro-life folks understand in a big way, it's been completely ignored. It's going to have a major impact, without question. Thanks for what you do, by the way. We'll make sure we get out and connect with Julie and Suzanne as soon as we hear what the reconciliation thing's going to be. We've already helped identify people you need to focus on. I'm telling you again, you've already made a huge difference. This next week, you can do it again. And you're the only ones who can do this. And let's just give it 120% because these young people, this is what we're all about. So thank you very much.